Hey everybody, and welcome to the next episode of Bastock and Bachelor Bullshit Busters. This week we are going to be talking about LinkedIn and whether you need to advertise on LinkedIn or whether you can just be posting and interacting on LinkedIn. So to start us off, Adam, do you want to give us a quick overview of how you're using LinkedIn at the moment?
Yeah, so I mostly use it kind of quite organically, and it's almost replaced Facebook for me in a way as a kind of social network where I mostly use it after any kind of Zoom meetings or networking events just to add people and kind of keep track, and just connect with people that I meet either in person or kind of online virtually. And I post updates every now and then about what I'm doing, so that might be personal. So recently I did a post about my move to Glasgow, which did really well, and I think there's probably a whole separate conversation there about how best to post organically on LinkedIn and kind of what content does well, because I was surprised that a non-business post did so well, but it might be because it's not a non-business post it did well. And then also I do stuff that's just like kind of top tips or questions and videos and just general, not noise, but general kind of engagement with people.
Yeah, I think a lot of
Yeah,
people are in that space of using it to connect and keep touch with different people they meet. It's like I guess it's that thing of, in some ways, to me, it's replaced the newsletter. The old boring email newsletters that used to go out. Some people have just directly put that on LinkedIn, and then other
yeah.
people I think are starting to engage with people more directly, asking questions, asking for feedback, recommendations, that kind of thing. So I think definitely it is becoming more of a professional network. I was reading the other day, sorry, more of a social network full of professionals. So I was reading the
Yeah,
other day
exactly.
that LinkedIn now has 690 million professionals on the network. And since Microsoft have owned it and started really investing in it, they've actually grown it hugely since. I think only a few years ago it was 300 million. So it's really grown exponentially, I think, as more and more people use it. But a question I think we get asked a lot is whether I should be advertising. Like these businesses come to us and say, should we be advertising on LinkedIn? How do I advertise? And I've done a little bit of digging into this for a couple of clients. And ultimately, what I found was quite interesting because, in many ways, it's similar to Facebook in that you can reach out and do what they call kind of that interruption advertising. So you're essentially paying to have your post slipped into the feed of someone else. That's essentially how their ads work. It's essentially sponsored posts. It's a bit like Instagram, a bit like Facebook, where your posts just appear in other people's feeds. But one thing that really separated it apart, I think, from Facebook is the fact that it's mainly based on declared information. So if you're familiar with the Facebook core audience, that's where you can target people based on declared information. So their age, their name, their location, their job title, all of the things that you give to Facebook as information. So you declare it. And LinkedIn has the same sort of principal base of its advertising in that it's all on this declared information. But on LinkedIn, the declared information is so much more up to date and it's so much more accurate because I think people treat it like their CV.
Imagine you get less University of Life kind of applications and stuff put on like you do on Facebook.
Yes,
It'll be
exactly.
more genuine, as you say, because it is a professional kind of CV representation. So people are going to be more willing to just declare honestly and less sarcastically, I hope.
Yes, yeah. I think also there's been a rise in, sort of CEO of fun and all this sort of stuff
Yeah,
is a
yeah,
little bit
exactly.
more frowned upon in respectable business circles. But also I think people's personality is certainly coming across a lot more on LinkedIn. I personally think that's really good because I think the person behind the business is really important to get to know, especially if you're going to be investing heavily in someone. you know, um, every time we're making a big business decision, we're always watching people on LinkedIn for a bit just to see what sort of stuff they're posting and things like that before we do business with them. So I presume people are doing the same to us when they're choosing us
I think so.
over someone else. I think you can learn a lot from people about what they're sort of posting about and how they sort of represent themselves in that sense. But I
It's that
think,
kind of ethics, isn't it? Making sure they've got the right ethical alignment with your company or your, you know, with you personally.
Yeah, totally. So I think in terms of going back to that question of should I advertise, well, in essence, yes, you should. But I think the main thing that differentiates LinkedIn from Facebook is just the level at which they are targeting their advertising platform. So essentially, they do the same audience thing. So you'd build up an audience of, say, accountants in Birmingham, or architects in Edinburgh. That's all fine. Or architects in the UK. You can find those people by job title and company and things like that, and you can start to build those audiences really well. The other thing is they say you can use a lookalike audience. So just like on Facebook, you can upload a list of your contacts, and it will go and find you people who are like those contacts. The only difference being that on LinkedIn, they suggest you start with a small audience size of around 10,000 emails.
Yeah, it's just huge.
And anything below that, they say that the match rate is going to be down to like 50-60%, which is horrendously low. So really, the numbers are just staggering for a small business. It's just really not cut out for that level. So I think the other thing I think that a lot of businesses miss is the insights tag. Have you got the insights tag on your website?
It's a very good question. I can't remember. I'd like to say yes, but there's a very large chance that I've forgotten about it, despite waxing lyrical about it. It's definitely one that I've installed on client websites purely as especially even e-commerce ones, not because we're actively doing LinkedIn advertising, but just because if we want to do it in the future, those websites will be getting enough traffic to kind of build up a decent database. Compared to Facebook, I imagine the LinkedIn Pixel or LinkedIn, what was it called? Sorry,
Insights tag.
Insights tag is only going to be capturing maybe 10% of what the Facebook Pixel will be doing, because people aren't going to be as logged into LinkedIn as they would Facebook. Therefore, you need much higher traffic numbers to kind of get anything useful out of it. But it's just worth having it there in the background. Anyway, you're not losing anything by having it there. And it just helps build that up so that if you do come to a point where you need to do remarketing, or you want to do a very specific kind of targeting on your past audience, it's there and ready to go.
Yeah, and I think the insights tag, when you put it on, you need to have 300 people click on something in LinkedIn that takes them to your website. So that could either be a link to a page or a blog on your site that you post, but it could also be the website link in your bio.
Yeah,
but
it's quite a lot though.
It is, yeah. For a small business, that's quite a lot. I mean, I don't click enormously on people's bio links from LinkedIn, or, to be honest, blogs. And LinkedIn sort of, I guess, also works a little bit against you, because it doesn't really like people putting in links that take people off of LinkedIn, very much like Facebook doesn't either. So a lot of people put their blogs in as LinkedIn articles, which keeps people in LinkedIn.
Exactly,
While that's very good for LinkedIn, it means that building up that critical 300 number for a lot of very small businesses and small businesses actually is going to take some time. So as you say, putting that tag in well ahead of when you need it is great. Because I think for small business, really the only bit of LinkedIn advertising that's applicable is retargeting. So retargeting being, where you're showing someone a post who's been to your website. On a very basic level, that could really help to influence decision or bring people back to a checkout. As you were saying for the e-commerce, that could be a real game changer to have, retargeting adverts going into LinkedIn saying, here's a download a guide on that thing you were looking at, or bringing them back to a blog or a page or an article even.
I think where LinkedIn it comes into its own is it's extremely specific and niche, and it is quite difficult for most people to access. And that's what makes it so good for those people who do access it and it is relevant for. So I imagine extremely specific kind of B2B e-commerce sites that might be selling, as you say, either something complex, such as, I don't know, like air conditioning units for certain offices, or that might be selling a company like Big Doug or something, where it's doing office and kind of warehouse furniture for kind of kit outs. If they can retarget to very specific groups of people, such as purchasing managers or whatever that kind of title is called, they're going to have quite a high conversion rate because they know those people are there. And especially on like service-based industries. So again, not for myself really, because my target audience isn't necessarily on LinkedIn that much. Whereas someone in like recruitment maybe is going to be far more relevant where you're dealing with bigger companies and it's worth having the pixel on your website then just to target those people. Not the pixel, the insights tag.
Insights tag,
on,
yeah.
on your website if you're like a recruitment company. So I think again it's not going to be for everyone. Even though I deal a lot with professional people, my target market is more kind of business owners, and they're not necessarily going to be on LinkedIn as much as say if I was a HR like a recruitment consultant or something and I was targeting HR or those kind of very specific roles, they're more likely to be kind of engaged in that world. So
Yeah.
I think that's where it becomes so powerful, is because it is so kind of not exclusionary but so explicit in how detailed you can get, and that's why it's so expensive. I'm not sure if that's something we want to talk about now because it's probably a whole different topic, but my understanding of it is that LinkedIn is very expensive to advertise on. But
Yeah, the budget is prohibitive to a lot of people, I think. I mean, when I've used it previously, the one that was really expensive was InMail, which is where it essentially injects a sponsored message into people's inboxes, the ones that no one reads. So the irony being those are the ones that have cost the company the most to get, well, from what I can see, no engagement. I don't think I've ever responded to one. Whereas I think the sponsored posts are actually much cheaper and much easier to get involved in. There is one little sort of LinkedIn hack, actually, that you can use, and that is across the top of LinkedIn, there's a tiny one-sentence line of text that appears, and that is sponsored. Now, that actually can act a bit like a display advert, because that is really cheap, because it hardly gets any clicks. But actually, most people subconsciously, even if they don't realise it, are reading it or catching words from it. So you can get millions of impressions worldwide by sponsoring that top line of text. And it's actually a very uncompetitive market space up there because not many people bother with it. And the click-through rates are low, but for a brand awareness exercise for a few pounds, that could really be very effective. So even if you just want to dabble, there is often little vouchers available for first-time advertisers or just people who want to give it a go. So I've got the link to get free credit, which is localized to your currency. But yeah, if you do want a free £50 from LinkedIn, then connect to me on LinkedIn and I will give you a voucher for more LinkedIn, basically. But yeah, it's quite handy if you want to just give it a go. They'll give you 50 quid. It's not match funding. You don't have to put 50 quid in. They literally just want people to give it a go. And actually for that, you might as well. And then you can just focus on maybe an organic posting campaign to try and get people to click to your blog or a page or something on your site, to try and drive up that 300 as quick as you can. Because then it opens you up into that whole market of being able to retarget. I think there's always lots more to cover with LinkedIn, and we'll probably come back and do one for a strategy on building your network or, building the effectiveness of what you're doing. But I think for LinkedIn campaigns, is there anything else, any other questions you had about that?
I was just going to say very quickly, I think the one thing that I remember from it, I looked at it about 2 years ago or 18 months or so, and I was kind of blown away by the level of accuracy with which you could target people and their kind of roles and their location and their how long they've been at a company, their kind of, the company size that they work for, et cetera, et cetera. So I think as one of our next ones to do maybe on LinkedIn, we could just walk through that, because I think it would be, for my own point of view as well, it'd be quite an education to see the types of adverts that can be run, because I think it is very similar to Facebook, but just to kind of challenge that a little bit more. But also just the targeting and how that works or what the options are there.
Yeah.
Because I think that will open up a lot of ideas and a lot of questions from my point of view.
Yeah, I think it's definitely something that has a lot of opportunity there, but it is just, I think it's for the bigger budget, more considered campaign levels. I think in the smaller campaigns, you're just not going to see the traction, or your budget just isn't going to cover the level of audience that LinkedIn has to offer unless you're getting really, really small. But then the thing is, as soon as you get really, really small, they're then saying actually that your audience isn't big enough. So you need to add more. And it all comes down to the sort of GDPR protection of like under 300 people. You can actually start to work out who's clicking and then who's buying. You can pretty easily work out who's done what. So who's seeing your ad, like directly by name, start to identify people who've seen your ads, which is obviously not not what they want. So I can see why they're doing it like they're doing it. But from a marketing point of view and working on a small budget, which a lot of small businesses are, I feel like actually you might need to be slightly further into your marketing budget journey, shall we say, than most small businesses are. But I mean, if you want to have, as I say, if you want to give it a go and want a free 50 quid, then give me a shout and I'll ping you the link to that. But if you've got any other questions about marketing on LinkedIn, then do reach out to us. You can reach me on LinkedIn at Simon Batchelor. That's AR at the end, so BATCHELAR, or win@marketingsuccess.club. And where can people reach you, Adam?
Also on LinkedIn, I'm fairly active on there, so it's just Adam Bastock, BASTOCK, or just Google my name and my website should come up because I'm so unique, you see.
Well, you're so unique, and you also do SEO, so you should
exactly. Yeah,
you should be number one. So
if I wasn't, then someone's got a campaign against me. So.
Exactly. Excellent. Okay, well, thanks for listening, everybody, and we'll see you again next time. Bye.
Cheers, guys. Bye.